Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am so glad you're here and ready, hopefully, to paint with me. I'm going to be using red, white, and blue plus black paint. I'm using a pre-painted black canvas. And as you might be able to tell, it looks a little bit kind of different in the middle. What I did here was it's like mostly black, and then I just brushed in with the black a little bit of blue and white so that it looks a little bit lighter in the middle. But essentially it's not that big of a deal. And you can also just start with black, pure black. It won't really matter because we're going to be painting over this, and we're going to be, hopefully you need a business card, or if you have a palette knife, you could use a palette knife, but I'm going to be using a business card to do some fun techniques. And you can also grab a toothbrush if you have an old toothbrush laying around. And I'll show you how you don't need a toothbrush too, if that's something you don't want to do. Now, I'm also going to use some brushes. Let's get a small round brush, and then you have like a medium or small. Let's just do it like a medium to small square brush. And then the last brush you're going to need is like a bigger brush. So like maybe a big flat brush or an angle brush, something that's a little bit bigger. Notice how this is about like 2 fingers width. So something a little bit bigger than these smaller brushes. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is create some texture in the background. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to use our blue and with a little bit of black and a little bit of white. So if you just painted it fully white, you could always just add this on top of the black. Make sure it still looks blue. And then I'm not using that much paint. I'm just using a tiny bit. I'm going to come down on the kind of the middle of the canvas towards the left side. So make sure you find the middle, and I'm kind of over to the left, and then you can just make a circle shape in there like that. See how I just kind of rubbed in a circle? Super fun. And then you can also have like pull a little line coming from that circle and down. And then notice how if I add a little more white and blue, it gets a little more vibrant, and I can add to it. And notice how I'm not using a lot of paint, just a little bit. Okay. Now the next one I want to do is going to be a little more vibrant, but I'm still going to use this blue. I'm just going to use more blue and actually add a little bit of red to it. So now it's coming into more of a purplish color. So mixing your red and blue and your white is going to give you a purple vibe. And I don't want it too light. I want it kind of dark to start. And then that's going to go right in the dead center, but a little higher. And then you can just use the corner and go ahead and brush that in. I'm making another little circle, very, very light, not too much paint. And then you can pull a little line coming down like that. So same kind of thing. Now, if it's helpful to you, you can always take a clean and dry brush and kind of rub and smudge out the color to pick up some of the excess paint and just make sure that it doesn't look too thick. So sometimes if it does, you can always take a clean and dry brush and just sort of wipe the excess paint off. Now, last but not least, I'm going to clean the brush, and I'm going to do this with pink. So I'm going to clean it. Whichever brush you were using to do this, we're doing the same thing. I'm going to use, this time, mostly red with a little bit of white. I want kind of a lot of red. I don't want it to be too light. And then we're going to do that over here, slightly off to the right. And maybe like a little bit kind of in between these two. So I'm going to go not as high as this one, but not as low as this one. Somewhere in the middle. And do the same thing. And then pulling it back into that same spot. Maybe even crosses over a little bit or something. Okay. Now, and you can even smudge with your fingers. So if it gets a little too bright, just smudge it out with your finger. We just want it to be really subtle, like a backdrop. So I'm going to put a blue firework, a white firework, and a red firework. So red, white, and blue. And you can do however you want to do this, but the first thing we're going to do is create another layer. Now this is going to be fun to do with a round brush. What I'm going to do is create my base for my blue firework, which is going to be blue and white, and a lot of white so that it looks really bright. It's just blue and white. And I'm going to make literally like a little circle in the middle. And you can kind of smudge it a little bit, but we want this to look pretty bright. You can even add pure white right in the middle. Like just dip your brush in the white and then add it right in the middle of that lighter blue or something. You don't have to, and then you can always just tap the excess off with your finger. I kind of like to tap a little bit like this. It just helps get the excess paint off and gives it a little bit of texture, which is fun. Now for this one, I'm going to do that purple kind of color, but a little bit brighter. And I'm going to go like that. Same thing, you can tap it out, a little bit of tapping, and then maybe get some pure white and put it right in the middle. And then again, you can tap it just a little bit to smudge it in. And then same thing here, but we're going to clean the brush and do it with pink. Doing red and white, more white this time, so it's a lighter shade of pink than our first color. We're going to put it right in the middle of that area and then dab. Then you're going to dab a little bit extra white and dab right in the very, very center and dab it again. So now we have like a fun little base for the fireworks. And then what we can do is we can create some fun effects with just using a business card. So what I'm going to do is you can use the long, let's test this a little bit. We're going to use the long side of the card. So see how I can take the card and I can put it in that blue. So if you need to, you can always take either a brush or a palette knife or something and mix up the color that you want to dip the card in. I want to use that light blue like we did in the center. And notice how I'm giving it some space. I'm kind of spreading it out on the palette or on the, yes, on the palette so that I can drag the card in it. Or you can even just take your knife and kind of spread it on, or a brush and spread it onto the edge of the card. And you don't have to do it like this either. You can do it with the brush. I'll show you multiple ways. And then what I want to do is just cross right in between there and then like chop like that. So you can make just like a hard chop. And then you can even like bend the card through the middle like that to create some bent lines coming down. So you're gonna maybe go like this. Yeah, I could fold it. That looks kind of cool. So I'm gonna just fold it and then go up this way. But watch how I can fold it in and then arc it a bit. So that could look cool. So, but you could just keep it kind of going more straight. It's up to you. It's really fun. So do that as many times as you want. Just make sure the middle of your card is going through the middle of your firework. And then again, I can just do it straight through too. Like, where we're just going straight through. And then bending. Notice how my bend is going right through the middle of the shape. So that looks pretty cool. Now I'm gonna do that with a white for the next one. So we're gonna go in, and then notice I'm just getting it on the edge. And then I'm gonna take it right through the middle. And then what's fun about this is maybe I wanna make this firework a little bit bigger. Just kind of come out on both sides and tap it a little further. So you can make it just kind of pull out a little further in each direction, make it a little bigger. And these can overlap a little bit, so don't stress about that. And then again, you can bend the card. You can't really do that with a palette knife, like the bent thing. So that's one benefit of using the card or any kind of hardstock paper. And you can even use the short end. So if I use the short end of the card, I can come down and just do on one side. So like maybe I just want one side at a time. So then I can go up there. So much fun. So if you're the kind of person that struggles with getting lines or something, and you're like, you see the idea of a firework painting and you're like, ooh, stressing you out, just use a card. It doesn't have to be stressful. It's so fun. It looks so pretty. Now I'm going to do the next one with pink, and I don't need to, I'm just going to use the same part of the card here because it had white and I just want to add that. So again, I could just go one side at a time, or again, you could use the long part of the card to go in between, just cross right through. And I'm going to do that as well. And then just keep in mind, you can always clean your palette knife and mix some more pink up, either with a brush or a palette knife. If you don't have a palette knife, you could just do it with the card. But your card will get kind of tore up because it's gonna absorb, especially if it's bendable. So if you're using like a credit card, it's gonna be obviously harder to bend that. You can still use it. It's gonna be harder to bend it. So I do recommend like a paper card, like a business card or something like that. Or even you could use like a flash card, depending on how big you're going. And again, I can bend it. Using the long end or the short end. Until you're happy and you're like, all right. So now you have each color firework and your card should be kind of crazy. We can add some splatter paint with each color too, which would be fun. So you just take your toothbrush and you dip it into your color and then come to where your firework is and you're just gonna flick the bristles. So I want some blue here. And notice how it got a little stringy. That could look cool, but if you want it to be a little bit less stringy or you don't want that stringy stuff to happen, again, I'm just gonna coming in here and like pulling the bristles to get it to come off. But if you want it to come off a little better, you can always take your toothbrush in the water and then mix that watery toothbrush into the color you're using. And then that will spray a little different, a little more fluid, might be more what you want. Now, if you don't have a toothbrush to use, no worries. There's so many ways to do everything that you really don't need to be like, oh, I can't do it because I don't have that or whatever. But see how that looks kind of crazy and kind of fun with the whole firework vibe. You can use a square paintbrush. So if you take any square brush, you can just come in, scoop up that. I definitely have to water it down if you use the paintbrush method, and then just do the same thing with those brush bristles. Flick it on. All right, so we have that. And then we're going to do it to the rest. Now, use your preferred method. I'm going to do a little bit more with the brush because I'm just for fun. I'm going to do the pink first. But notice I'm dipping the brush. I'll dip my brush in the water. I'm just using dirty paint water. Doesn't really matter. Mix it into your color. And then come there and then just flick the bristles back right onto your spot. Super fun. And then clean it again. And we'll do the white. So again, you can use the toothbrush. It's actually not my preferred method, but I like to show different ways you can do stuff. You got to add water to the paint that you are flicking on so that it's not too thick. Otherwise it will just look like boogers, like stringy, all strung together instead of splattering. And we'll do our white. And then what you can do with your small round brush is you can go in and add some dots onto either the tips of those fireworks or just throughout the space manually. So maybe if I go to the tips of some of them and add a little dot like this, and do that manually. You could also use a stick. So I'm going to show you how you could use a stick. So sometimes people just think, oh, my brush is so terrible, like it's not working. And again, you can even brush some of these firework, the lines pulling down. So maybe I want some that really cascade down into the other colors, like a little bit more organically or less contrived with the card technique. So then you can always take your brush and then pull some of those brush strokes down. Look, and notice how it's like more like a fountain coming down. Looks really pretty. And then again, I can have some dots coming on the tips of those. This is so relaxing to do. And as I make this tutorial, it's literally the 4th of July here in California, where I'm painting from. I can always re-enhance I'm going to do that with the blue too. I'm going to add some manual brush strokes, pulling down like a fountain, pulling from the center and then just drooping and pulling down. Just because I like the way that looks. A lot of times when you look at fireworks, they kind of do that with the gravity. And then you can even add a little extra to the line coming here, because you know how it shoots up. So you can play with that. You can add more white to it. You can even add white to the blue to make it look a little brighter. So however you want to play with that. I'm going to clean. I'm going to go to the pink and do some more of the same. Again, I can add some little dots with the pink, but I can also add some pulls that droop and pull down. Very relaxing. Fireworks are crazy, so they kind of just go wherever. And then again, I can add like a little bit of to the center thing. If it gets a little too crazy, just use your finger to spread it out. Don't worry, don't stress. And then with the white, I'm going to come in with the white. I'm going to do a little bit of that with the white too. Going through. And then let's talk about this stick thing I was talking about. So I usually get just a shish kebab skewer, one of those giant toothpicks, and take your white. And then the white can go within the red and the blue and the white. So I can put some white dots over here. Just dipping and tapping with the tip. And then what I can do is have some little sparks coming off those, so I can just pull out like a twinkle. So it's gonna go up and down, right and left. Up, down, right, left. And you can make a little X too. You can do this with the small brush too, but I find that that's really hard for some people. So sometimes just scraping it on might be a better result. I'm just scraping a T in there. So you have a dot and then you pull lines out of it in a T shape, or you can also do an X. Either or both. So I could do just a T like that, and then I could do just an X like that, or I can combine them. I'm gonna add a little extra white to the center. And you can do it with you can do this all with white, or you can do it with pink and blue as well. This is a fun way to have fireworks without having to go to the crowded firework situation and all the smoke. Maybe that's something that you can't, that's not something you like. And then you can use the back end of that skewer that's maybe a little thicker and do more dots and more of those little star things until you're just happy. Like you can do it a lot, or you just don't have to do it that much. It's totally up to you. I'm gonna do a few more and then I'm gonna let it go. Because I like to keep these little mini sessions short and sweet. So that way there's no excuse not to do it. I mean, the biggest excuse I hear people for not doing some creative activities is that they don't have the time. So I'm like, gotta make time. And if you don't have like 10 minutes, 30 minutes, I don't know. You gotta get it in there somehow. We all have busy lives. I do too. I have 2 kiddos, including a 6-month-old baby. And I think it's really important to find the time to be creative because we were born to create. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and let it go. So there's your red, white, and blue fireworks. I hope you enjoyed all those fun different tools. We used cards, we used toothpicks, palette knives, brushes, fingers, and I really love the results, and I hope you do too. I hope you enjoyed. Please give a like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff if you feel like it. And a comment, leave me a comment, let me know how you liked it or what other things you might want to learn how to paint, and have a happy 4th if you're painting this for that kind of celebration. And I hope to see you painting again soon. Bye.